Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Pisces energy, and we're going to do this 10 card spread. I have a Kipper style deck and a Lenormand style deck combined, and we'll see what message they want to give. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because it is Pisces energy, but everybody's somewhere on the spectrum in their Pisces energy. We all have to heal and grow and mature ourselves. And, we can always be dealing with some people who still have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, might be caught up emotionally in, their more shadow nature, which can be their pride, their ego, their fear, their insecurity, their self-centeredness, indulging themselves, just more caught up in the illusion of the world, making their life more about things they want to go indulge in to make them feel better, or the money or the ego or the status. And other people have been enlightened to the fact that love is what makes it all worthwhile, and they want to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people who are authentic and loving and just and fair. But we can all have different people on the spectrum that we're dealing with. So how they're going to handle this energy that is available, they will handle it differently depending on kind of their emotional maturity level and what kind of drives and motivates them. Is it truth and love and justice and fairness, or is it a little bit more about them? So this could be something particular that Pisces energy might be dealing with right now. But we all tap into Pisces energy. So listen to your intuition of where you're at and where some other people are at. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it says Scorpio. And this is a feminine figure, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine figures in the card, which the only one showing is the rider, which is Aquarius, which can be about our dreams and how we view life. We're all going to move forward in life taking action. The masculine figures can be male or female, but it's how they're presenting themselves in the world and the action that they're taking. And Scorpio is about is emotional water sign energy, is our dream. Aquarius can be about what our dreams are. Do we want more deep, meaningful relationships, or do we want more uncomfortable with more maybe emotionally shallow, superficial relationships? Are we more about looking like a shining star in the world, more about us, or do we want to work together with others and realize that if we want a dream to come into reality with other people, you know, we do have to connect in with our emotions and our intuition and do love. Some people want to move forward in things but kind of look like love, but kind of keep their more emotional nature hidden beneath the surface, where it's like you use your emotions and your sexuality and all these things in a more manipulative way, living more from your mind than your heart. Aquarius energy is air sign energy. So people are either going to harness these energies in a more high vibe, a more worldly, or a more shadowy way. And at the end of the story, we have the devil, which can be, no matter how we're living our life, more high vibe or whatever, there's always, the devil can be these things that challenge our belief systems, because we do have this way of viewing life and living life, and we can't get rid of our shadow nature. We all, to some degree, have our fears and our insecurities and our maybe defensive nature and our maybe more codependent nature. In a typical tarot deck, the devil card looks just like the lover's card, except that in the devil card, instead of there being an angel, also there's the devil, and people have chains and shackles on them. So it can be a more worldly base, because the devil can be making your life more about these things of the world, being more motivated and inspired emotionally by these things of the world, which can be, I want to move forward with something, and maybe in a job, a friendship, a relationship, more out of my fear and my insecurity or the status or the ego or the image. And other people are willing to face their fears, to work together, keeping light, looking at life from a higher perspective, keeping things in perspective, and offering love that is their truth so that they can rise above the devil and their own shadow nature, their own more immature, more about themselves nature, and letting these things of the world become more of a driving factor in their life than it should be. We all live in the world, we all want some of these things of the world, stability, security, but high vibe people keep it in perspective. That's like high vibe Aquarius, where I keep offering love to my own shadow nature, and so that I keep things in balance, and that I work together with people to focus on the big picture so I don't get distracted by these other things that could try to throw a wrench in it, right? Because high vibe energy, the big picture represented by God, is trying to give birth to new things, and the devil, well, shadow energy represented by the devil, is trying to stop people from giving birth to new things. So some people have learned that lesson, and they've learned to keep focused on the big picture in truth and love, facing their fears, working together with other people, being loving and encouraging, trying to help them look at life from a bigger picture and overcome their fears and their insecurities and their past pain and heartbreak and immaturity. And then other people are like, hey, you know, I got this issue. I make it really important in my life. Is that a big issue in your life? Wonderful. Let's move forward together because we both make that a big issue in our life. And then they'll move forward together. And either way, we're going to learn some lessons, is basically what the devil says. But if we keep things in perspective and we offer love to it, um, it's kind of having victory over the devil, not letting it interfere in your life as much. And other people might find out that those things that they make more important in their life than love and looking at life from a higher perspective, that those things are probably going to cause them a lot of challenges in their life. Okay. At the heart of the reading, we have the surprise visitor, which has an emotional figure coming out from behind the walls. High vibe energy is about dealing with the truth. Aquarius energy can be about dealing with the truth. Pisces energy is about having hope and faith and belief in our dreams. And as we keep offering love to having hope and faith and belief in our dreams, offering love to our fears and our past pain and heartbreak and stuff, it is kind of like we work through shedding an old layer of ourself emotionally, where we kind of give birth to a new version of ourself emotionally, which is the same thing we did when we decided not to be more like a 15-year-old and be more like an 18-year-old. We've done this throughout our life. We kind of shed an old layer of ourselves, and we see what should go, what should stay, and we kind of shed an old layer of how we used to look at ourselves and how we used to look at the world. So that's coming up. But we start out with a card not showing itself, and that can mean with some people in our life, we're working together with them cooperatively to bring a dream into reality, because we both harness this energy, or those people, in a more high vibe way. And we could have some people in our life that we know harness this energy in a more shadowy way. And some of those people we've already kind of distanced ourselves and moved on from. And some people we're just not investing much time, energy, and effort into them because we know they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. The Star card, which is also Aquarius energy, we're kind of looking for people, whatever our truth is, to find people who are kind of more on the same page as us. We all kind of like to hang out with people that I like to go do this, and I view life this way, and I act this way, and what do you view life like, and what do you think, and what's important to you? And Um, More high vibe people, I've probably known some people who harness their Aquarius energy in a shadowy way, regardless of what zodiac sign they are. If the more high vibe people kind of look at life from a higher perspective and they're not as consumed to repeat old patterns or immaturity or let their shadow nature manipulate them, they already might know some people that are kind of more manipulated by some things that maybe used to manipulate the other people, but they kind of look at life differently now and they're kind of not the same person that they were before. And they already know some people, they're not on the same page, their truth is different. And they might feel some people in shadowy Scorpio are a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. So some people have already cut those people out of their life. And then as we're going through life, it's kind of, you know, meeting other people, knowing other people in our life. Some people we know we're different and we know we have different dreams and aspirations and viewpoints in life, but we're not in a more involved relationship with them, so it doesn't really matter. Everybody could know, yep, they kind of live life differently than me, view life differently than me. I live life, view life differently than them, and it's okay. You know, we can still get along in workplaces and communities and some family dynamics because we all don't have to be the same. And we can accept that everybody's different. But if it's a more long term friendship or romantic relationship, well, there you do kind of want your truth to be the same. And the people who are more emotionally shallow and more caught up in these things of the world, they want to hang out with people who are like that. They've probably let go of people in their life who look at life differently because you're not on the same page. So equally, some people could have cut some people out of their life because they view life differently. Then we have the short illness card, which, you know, when there are some friendships or relationships in our life that didn't work out the way we wanted, with the red hair and this being a feminine figure, it can talk about kind of being in our ego about it, which is a natural human response. But the short illness card is also reminding me of the Four of Swords. You know, we either deal with the truth of it and we heal, and then we accept the gift. I can offer love to it. And that's what high vibe people do. That's the answer. And it's what helps us move forward in life. Not letting go of our dreams, just seeing that my truth is different than their truth. What drives and motivates them is different. How they want to move forward is different. Or they could have been someone that really did seem to be on the same page. Sometimes we can meet people, we can like them. It's like, oh shit, you're already in a relationship. Well, high vibe people accept the truth of it, kind of believing in the bigger picture. Ultimately, God knows what I really want to manifest in my life. God knows what other people really want to manifest. And God might know that our kind of the different things that we want to go experience in life is different. So, high vibe people offer love to it to heal. And then with the short illness card reminding me of the Four of Swords, which is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, the high vibe people offer love to themselves, to keep believing in themselves, keep believing in their dreams, not let themselves be tempted to get more tipped out of balance from it, to stay balanced within themselves, keep offering love to it, to keep the devil at bay. Because sometimes some people in our life, you know, maybe we didn't see the truth. And then we can be shocked that, wow, I can't believe that person is more bossy or controlling or immature or materialistically motivated, self motivated to such an extent that, you know, maybe I'm shocked. Maybe with a surprise visitor for some people who've already went through this, and some people, you know, are going to experience it because they're in the stage of still looking at someone as this just and fair person who's like a gift come into their life, but they haven't realized that kind of their dreams are different. right? But some people have already went through it, and the people who went through it have offered love to it. I'm not going to kind of like drive my life off into the ditch and quit believing in myself and believing in my dreams. I just realized their truth is different than my truth. My dream couldn't come into reality with them anyway. And so I'm going to maintain balance within myself and offer truth and love to it. And then in the expectation card, I'm waiting to see, what God has in store for me, kind of. And and that is us kind of, we had a way of living life, viewing life, people we were in friendships and relationships or employment with, and then it didn't work out the way we wanted. And because we were willing to deal with the truth of it and maintain balance within ourselves and not kind of drive our life off into the ditch, and we had that hope and faith and belief, it was kind of like, being illuminated to the truth and Aquarius energy, air sign energy about the mind and what our truth is. It could have helped us work through either the way we viewed someone or the whole experience. Could have helped us, we come together with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And this whole experience helps someone and is helping people kind of work through. Scorpio can talk about, we're these emotionally complex human beings, so is everyone else. Some people can wear a false mask and they present themselves as a more just, fair, stable, grounded, motivated by love type of person. Then we find out that really isn't the truth of who they are. And it was like the devil in disguise. And, we need to know that because God wants to give us like our blessings, but if we're still kind of like naive and gullible and not wanting to see the truth, well, then the devil can come in and snatch those things away. So we have to learn these lessons in life to maintain balance within ourselves, align with our more hopeful, believing nature, be willing to learn new lessons in life. You have to get out of your more egoic nature to be willing to deal with the truth and keep believing in your dreams. The fish card is Pisces energy, which Pisces is emotional water sign energy like Scorpio, but where we are kind of listening to our intuition, having hope and faith and belief in our dreams. And Scorpio is fixed sign energy, which can be when we get involved in something. That's kind of the emotional water sign energy I feel that we tap into when we're in the midst of something. And it can be hard to get out of our fixed energy signs. But that's where Pisces comes in. And Pisces helps us heal and see the truth and work through the emotional confusion. Pisces is a mutable zodiac sign. And when we tap into that emotional energy, it helps us transition out of seeing the truth about something that this isn't aligned with my truth. Um, and to work through that so that we can move forward in life and get out of kind of being kind of fixed and stubborn about it. And Aquarius is fixed sign energy also. So when we go work at something, whatever it is, and we thought a dream was going to come into reality and we thought we were going to get justice and we thought it was going to work out the way we expected and then it didn't, it's very confusing and it's difficult and it's challenging. But high vibe people offer truth and love to it to heal and work through the emotional confusion, to deal with the truth and accept the truth. So then we have this next card coming up that's not showing itself. And the way I would interpret that again is that people who went through a certain life experience and they kind of realized, they learned, got a little more clear about what their truth is and their truth isn't. And then they don't want to repeat that again. I don't want to get in another relationship or another place of employment or friendship group or whatever. Now that I have this experience, and part of it could have been to listen more to our intuition Because in our air sign energy, both Aquarius and Libra are air sign energy, we as human beings, we think we're pretty smart, and we were given the gift of our intuition, but we have free will to listen to it or not. And we can be a little fixed and stubborn and think we're so smart, like, oh no, I'm sure I can make this work, even though our intuition could have been telling us, I don't think you're on the same page. I don't think this is going to work out the way you think. You should go home now. Pride comes before the fall, and we got to learn to maybe start listening more to our intuition. And so, in order to not repeat that old pattern, the high vibe people see the truth that there's always going to be whatever type of situation that was, or people, Aquarius of the star, the devil, Libra, justice and fairness. We can meet people in the world who shine bright in the world, are attractive, are charming, stability, security, look like they have justice in the world, whatever it is. And we can always be tempted by that. And so high vibe people are doing this work within themselves, that those kind of people, whatever it is, are always going to exist in the world. I can't change other people, and I can't change the world, and I can't, those kind of people are always going to exist. I have to work on what it is within me that kind of drew and attracted me to that to begin with. Because that's what will make me not, when I see the truth of it and I work through it, it's kind of how did I again harness this energy in a more shadowy way? And we all, kind of in our more worldly nature, can get caught up in the world and all these things that we want. And sometimes again, we were kind of maybe living a little more from our mind than our heart, maybe didn't listen to our intuition. And then they have to deal with this energy also, which is the gift of money. So that could be, we're kind of realizing that and listening to our intuition about when people seem to be offering us kind of more these things of the world, tempting us in our more worldly nature. Yes, I want a job, I want a friendship, I want to be in a relationship, I want community, whatever it is. But that's sometimes all people do have to offer you is these things of the world, not love, not authenticity, not being loving and encouraging and just and fair and authentic. And if that's what we want, we have to listen to our intuition about who really does seem to be more balanced within themselves and who seems to be more tipped out of balance, where they kind of want to be indulged, where it's maybe either just a little bit more about them and they don't work together with you cooperatively from love in a just and fair way, or being kind of immature, bossy, or controlling, or prideful, or immature, or whatever, but hoping if they can offer you these things more of the world, that you'd be tempted by it. So it's learning not to be tempted maybe in your more worldly nature, which can be people trying to get you to work together with them in some way. But it's kind of creating the illusion that they're going to be more just, fair, authentic, balanced, loving. But that's not really kind of the truth of who they are. And that's where, because people can wear false masks, we got to really listen to our intuition. Because I think our intuition was given to us as a gift, just like all of the other animals, and we're part of the animal kingdom, were given their unique things. They just listen to them and use them, whatever their thing is. They're kind of like superpower. But we as human beings have free will, and we were given our intuition to, when somebody's smiling in your face, but it's like, I don't think you have my best interest, or I think you have ulterior motives, or I think you're, I don't know, more fake, superficial, shallow, lustful, greedy, prideful, more about yourself. I don't really think you are who you present yourself as being. And so that could be that some people are like, you know what? I've kind of learned that if I make decisions more out of my more worldly, living more from my mind than my heart, I'm probably going to repeat that old pattern. So I'm going to go out in the world now. And then we have the Bees card, which is Virgo energy, which talks about all these lessons that we've learned. I'm going to take the lesson and the one pentacle, and the pentacles can talk about these lessons we've learned. I'm going to take the lesson I learned from this experience, and Virgo energy can also talk about taking this time to kind of invest in yourself and heal and grow and mature yourself. Think about, what it is you really want to manifest in your life and the type of friendships, jobs, and relationships you want to be in, and invest in looking at life from a higher perspective, putting things in perspective. Looking at the things of your past and working through those things, offering love to it. I've dealt with all these people in the world that had their different issues. And it's kind of like, I wish everybody peace and love, because I don't want it to keep manipulating me. Everybody has their way of living life, viewing life, and they probably get the rewards or the negative consequences because of it. And I'm going to keep believing that if I keep putting in work and effort to believe in myself, believe in my dreams, and High Vibe Aquarius can be about healing also. I don't have to invest in my more worldly nature. I have free will. I can invest in my more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. I can invest in my own unique talent, skills, and interests to bring my dreams into reality. Because shadowy energy can be where some people think, no, 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 you need to work with these things of the world. And they could ignore listening to their intuition, could think love could throw them off track, just like some people like maybe they go into a career field and it's like, gee, I'd really love to go do that. But because I have fear of listening to my intuition or believing I can manifest my dreams into reality in that career or have the stability or security I want, sometimes they go get and invest in careers or professions that aren't really aligned with their truth. And then it can kind of seem like they're living in hell every day because they didn't, you know, if you're not investing time, energy, and effort into something that's really aligned with your truth, you're not going to be happy. And same way, if people are more worldly driven and ego and image, they can get in relationships with people who are more loving and encouraging, and they could have maybe stability and security and things that they want, but that's really not their truth. you know, Everybody should live their truth. And, if people are in more mismatched relationships, the devil can talk about that it does feel like you're chained to something that's not aligned with your truth. Just like if you're somebody who likes to go party more and you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't like to go party more, well, that's kind of a drag, and you kind of, it's kind of trying to find people. And on the spectrum of finding people that really party way overboard and is kind of driving their life off into the ditch, and people who never party at all, it's like trying to find people, in high vibe is trying to find a balance. Things of the world are meant to be enjoyed, but within moderation, where you don't give those things so much power in your life that you lose focus of what really is important. And some people never were really big on balance or love. And so then it's probably to try to find someone on the spectrum of who is kind of more motivated, more in favor of making their life about these things of the world, but is kind of in the same degrees of what I view as unacceptable or acceptable behavior. So you could slice it up and, you're trying to find people in your zone of comfort, and same way for people moving forward a little more hopeful and believing in love and more tipped in favor of having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in love, and then trying to find people on that spectrum where you're kind of in a certain zone of comfort, right? And I think if there's some people right now, well, some people are in mismatched relationships, but for their different reasons. And I think, again, it can just be for them to help them get more clear about their truth. We've been in job friendships and relationships with people. We got clear about our truth and we left. Well, then other people come into those people's lives, and then those people have to decide, is this aligned with my truth? Is it not? And that's for them to decide. Some of them are deciding right now, nope, this isn't my truth. Others of them are going to keep moving forward in it, and they're going to kind of realize they're in a more mismatched relationship. Um, some people like being in a more mismatched relationship, which can be people like a more codependent relationship. Say someone is a kind of like a loving, well, a really giving, nurturing person, and they really like to give a lot. Well, they might get in a relationship with someone who likes to take a lot. And, they'll move forward in it until they kind of get tired of a more imbalanced relationship, and they kind of start to think, maybe I'd like a more just, fair, balanced relationship where there's more equal give and take. And some people are still on that journey of learning that. Other people have been in it, don't want to do it anymore. They're not going to invest in that type of relationship dynamic anymore, you know, and they're investing their time, energy, and effort into the people in their life who they think and feel are working together with them, that are less about an old way of living life or viewing life, that they've kind of shed a layer of that. And there's always going to be, just like there's 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 21 years old, 25-year-olds, which we can kind of recognize that as certain kind of phases and ages, stages of life you go through. Was it just and fair for us to be at all those stages of life? Yeah, it was kind of like a gift to us for us to learn these lessons in life and help us get more clear about what our truth is and truth isn't. But just like we can look at those as chronological, it's also these emotional maturity levels. And there's some people that still maybe aren't 25 anymore. They could be anywhere from 35 to 85, but they kind of have the emotional maturity of still acting and viewing life the same way they did at age 25. Because at any point in time in the world, people could have had an end goal of what was important to them. And for some people, I just want to get through the 15, 18, 21, 25. I just want a job. I just maybe want to be in a relationship. So I look maybe like I got it going on in the world. I look victorious and successful. And then I'm done. This is it. I don't want for anything else. And I also might not want to have to learn or grow or mature myself anymore. This is it. This is what I like. I'm good. And so long as they can find someone who views life that way too. It's just that other people do kind of keep healing and growing and maturing themselves. And they're ready to go have a new beginning, kind of again do this evaluation. What are the things that should stay? What are the things that should go? They're more inspired. That Virgo energy is represented by the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Pentacles, which can be, I went through a phase of life. I kind of learned the lessons I meant to learn from that phase of life. Now I'm ready. That was part of the journey. Just like I didn't want to stay 15 or 18 or 21 and act like that all my life. It's a phase of life, and I learn lessons at that phase of life. And then I look at what should go, what should stay, what are the good building blocks, which things did I learn that wasn't so good. I need to kind of cut that out. And they're kind of ready to have this new beginning and detach from an old way of living life, to face their fears, to go to that next stage of life, to kind of grow to their full potential. In High Vibe Scorpio is about exploring the mysteries of life. It's like going on the roller coaster of life and learning about yourself. And sometimes it can be surprising that we can be in a phase of life and we're thinking, oh my gosh, I would like to live my life like this forever. I can't imagine I would ever want for anything different. But during the course of that, then, some things we could be putting in work and effort towards something, and then we could even be surprised that, wow, um, one of the things I relate back to was kind of doing landscaping around my house. I never did anything like landscaping or whatever when I was young, so who'd know that you even like it? And then maybe when a person's like 30 or 35 and they're whatever age that, or you go and get in some job and it was something that you never thought you would like, and that dying, that would have been a great career field to go into, or gee, maybe starting a business with it or something. It was something you never even thought of. It just wasn't even in your thought process. And there too, we all, at different stages of our life, the way we imagined how our life would be, and that we thought that would make us happy. And then we go live that phase of life. And then we can be surprised as time goes by that, I'm ready to go to more, just like, or do more. That wasn't just the end goal. I am inspired to keep learning new things, just like some people, maybe when they were younger, thinking they never wanted to do more education. And then as some things come up in their life, it's like, I do want to go pursue something or challenge myself to learn more things or maybe get more education. It's just, there's just like we have shadowy layers of ourself to peel back. There's also kind of like the knowledge of the tree and good and evil within us. All these potentials of who we could be in the world are there, but we kind of go through these phases of life, and then as we go to the next phase of life, then something else kind of within us might arise where we had no idea we would even think that way or want to go pursue that, until it's kind of like a surprise that, wow, I never even thought that would be something I'd be interested in. And then you can want to maybe go invest in it more. It's kind of like realizing there's things that are kind of aligned with your truth that maybe you have a special knack for, or because it's hard to invest your time, energy, and effort into something that it isn't really something that kind of sparks this maybe creative, inspired nature within yourself. And that's part of growing up and kind of even learning what our things are that interest us, right? So, as some people might want to move forward in life a little differently, even in friendships and workplaces, some people are more balanced, some people are more creative and inspired, some people are more connected in with themselves emotionally and intuitively, maybe just a little more balanced, and they are more inspired to look to the future and keep putting in work and effort to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves, and other people not so much, and might think it's just and fair, to kind of indulge themselves They might even be surprised. Everybody can imagine that they're going to be this more just, fair, stable, grounded, emotionally mature person. And then they can get in relationships with people where they have that. And then it could even surprise them that I thought this is what I wanted, but this does require me to invest in kind of being more independent of my more immature nature, or being more about myself or more about the world. And as I have this opportunity to do as an option, the devil can just represent that it's not aligned with our truth, and it kind of challenges our belief system. And for some people who used to think, oh no, this is the kind of person I am, and this is what I want to do in life, and then they kind of have that opportunity. But shadowy energy can be where we don't want to see the truth and we want to stay in denial of the truth. And maybe what some people don't want to see is that, to kind of, I want to have what other people have, or I might view it a certain way, but I don't want to see that my version of it is where it is a little bit more about me, or it is a little bit more about the ego or the image. And it's maybe not so much about being maybe more just or fair, or doing a more deep, meaningful relationship. Shadowy Pisces can be, well, I thought I could just more indulge in the relationship. I really didn't think I had to do a deep, meaningful relationship. In order to do a more deep, meaningful relationship, to really bring that type of dream into reality, I would have to put some work and effort to work through why I had this idea that I really didn't have to be just and fair, or that I really kind of do think it should be a little bit more about me, or people should kind of indulge me being in whatever kind of shadowy ways I have of viewing life. And it can be as much of a surprise to them. And then for people who are quite shadowy, who are quite much more about themselves, and think they kind of think it's just and fair, they kind of think they're a gift to the world and other people, and they kind of indulge their more immature, egotistical nature. They think other people should want to indulge them in their more immature, egotistical, kind of self centered nature. And then they can be confused why other people don't want to invest in them, you know, and they don't want to see the truth. Well, you're kind of immature and bossy and controlling and kind of full of yourself. And they're like, no, you know, and, they got some shadowy ways of being. Let's go to what is coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy, that are listening to their intuition, maybe kind of realizing, maybe have been indulging some people, and maybe some people that at one time they felt, and we kind of looking at it as the fact that anybody who kind of comes into our life, good or bad, if it helped us work through something and get more clear about our truth, if we look at it that it was something we might have needed to deal with within ourselves, that we weren't wanting to see the truth of, which could even just be loving and believing in ourselves. And it forced us to have to put in this work and effort to love and believe in ourselves. It forced us to maybe have to heal from some past pain and heartbreak or something. That was a gift. Take that gift of what you learned from that experience and move forward. Realize who in your life, their truth is different than your truth. They have a different way, again, of what they could think is just and fair in workplaces, friendships, and relationships, and move on. And maybe, again, we can all repeat old patterns over and over until we're willing to see the truth of it. And some people were very loving and nurturing people, and they kind of indulge people in their poor behavior, and then you kind of get tired of it. I don't And some people could feel like they were the one putting in all the work to make it more just and fair and balanced and creative and inspired, and kind of felt other people were kind of indulging in it. And it's like, well, I want other people and work with other people who put in work and effort and that I can have a deep, meaningful relationship with, not maybe a more superficial and shallow relationship. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming? The cards are just kind of flipping weird in my hands. So that's why I'm not taking them. Plus, I don't want a bunch. Just 1, 2, or 3 would be good. Okay. Well, one fell on the floor. So, what some people in their Pisces energy might not be coming is maybe that some things are just going to be completely off the table now because you've worked through something. Why did this card come out? Because of the King of Pentacles. And I view the Devil as Capricorn energy and the King of Pentacles as high vibe Capricorn energy. And when one person is holding the one pentacle in high vibe, it means they learned these lessons and they grew and healed and matured themselves. They freed themselves from something that used to manipulate them. Why? Because it takes work and effort. Capricorn is earth sign energy. You have to put in work and effort. And we all tap into Capricorn energy. We're either more aligned with being manipulated by our more worldly, shadowy, codependent, imbalanced, and indulging poor behavior in others, or we've kind of grew up and matured ourselves and put in the work and effort to heal, deal with the truth, and you've emotionally grown and matured yourself. And you are willing, the masculine figures again, talk about taking action. You took action to invest in healing, working through the emotional confusion, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams. You have people in your life that you offered. High vibe, the pentacle means truth and love. You offered that to people and you kind of saw who was open to working together with you in that energy and who wasn't. And because of that, I would say this in a shadowy energy is not even on the table in your life anymore. 6 of Cups in reverse, and the 6 of Cups is Scorpio energy. Some people in your life that you could have worked with, the 6 of Cups can kind of refer to the past. But if they were people who are more emotionally shallow, superficial, you saw the truth that they are more motivated by themselves or these things of the world or things they like to indulge in, that's not your truth. And so some of those people are off the table. But with that card not showing itself, there might be some people in the world that you could know, or other people in the world who are like that. They don't know that they're off the table, but they're not someone you're interested in investing in. Some of those people could be thinking, oh no, I'm sure any moment they're going to want to come be in a relationship with me because I look this way or have this certain status or image or whatever, male or female, or I can manipulate them because they're a loving person. And that's what shadowy people do with loving people, is try to manipulate them. It's like, no, I've already dealt with people like that. If you show me the truth that, you are kind of more shadowy, yeah, I'm not going to invest more time, energy, and effort into you. I'm going to move on and focus my time and attention on people who don't interact like that. But some of those people don't know that you've seen the truth about people like them, that you have learned these lessons in life, that you're maybe a more mature person than them. And I think then the kings can represent how you're taking action in the world. You are taking action in the world being authentically who you say you are. And you come across as a King of Pentacles, a very stable, grounded, emotionally mature person that people would view as someone that they want to be in friendships and relationships, work with, marry. King and Queen of Pentacles is the only marries through the deck. To be authentically a King of Pentacles, internally, emotionally, you have to be a Queen of Pentacles. You are who you say you are. And there's other people in the world trying to present themselves as being that type of person, but emotionally, they're more operating from a shadowy emotional nature. But you are being seen as someone who is being authentic. And you're not repeating some patterns of the past, and you're not, and they could see some other people doing that. We all know we have free will to take action more out of pride, ego, fear, insecurity, lust, and greed, and some people are. And other people see that you're not doing that, that you are putting in work and effort to bring your dreams into reality, facing your fears, but with Capricorn kind of also representing the world, it could be in your career field. And if you're already in a relationship or a marriage, if whoever people could have been in your family and your community, just people maybe trying to confuse people about things or rile people up, kind of get them in negative energy of some sort, like in their ego or something. The high vibe people are like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna invest more time and energy and effort into it than necessary. Other people will maybe want to get caught up in the drama, and they can, and I choose not to. Wish you all peace and love. Hope it all works out, but do I want to get more engaged in it? No. I'm going to keep focused on truth and love and let other people get caught up in what they want to get caught up in. And for some of you, well, I think as you move forward in this energy, there's other people who see that you could have detached from investing in an old dream or an old way of living life, just like they could have done. And it could be people you haven't even met yet. And as you move forward in your life, investing your time, energy, and effort into what is aligned with your truth, you're going to meet other people who see that about you, that think that you are someone that they want to work with. Like that would be a dream come true. Work, friendship, or relationship. What's coming up for the more shadowy people that they don't see coming up? The Nine of Swords in reverse. Why? Because of the Death card. So, the Death card is Scorpio energy also. The Death card talks about death and rebirth, where we heal, we grow, we mature, we detach from an old way of living life and viewing life, and we move forward to have these new beginnings. And so, what some people could be surprised about is maybe, when we look at different people in the world and we see people doing different things, we might think, oh, that person, they're going to keep doing this. And oh, that person's probably going to do that. No, I think this person's that kind of person and whatever. Some people who are maybe a little more manipulated and manipulative could have thought that some people would repeat an old pattern because the fish in Pisces is going that way, and shadowy Pisces can be indulging ourselves. Some people could have thought some people would be up in their head, and the Nine of Swords, I'm kind of moving around here because there's some cards on the floor under my table. I can pick those up afterwards. I don't have to pick those up now. But the Nine of Swords is Gemini energy, which talks about our free will. We can either align with our worldly nature or our more loving nature. And a lot of people in the world haven't learned to love themselves. They keep letting whatever manipulate them. And they could be surprised at that some people in their life aren't up in their head about them, is what the Nine of Swords in the upright can talk about. like as if they've got people manipulated and stressed out. And some people are like, no, I I see the truth of it. I've healed. Maybe at one time I was up in my head about it. Maybe at one time I was in my ego about it, but I'm not up in my head about it. Why? Because emotionally, I don't want to be in that kind of energy. And I have the free will to put in the work and effort to work through it. But that's sometimes what some shadowy people don't do because it does take work and effort. And they can have people and things within them that kind of manipulate them. Past pain, heartbreak, their ego, their fear, their codependency, other people in their life. But it does take a lot of work and effort to work through. Again, Scorpio energy talks about the fact that we, again, are these emotionally complex people. We can have people in our life that we can have love for, but I don't really want to hang out with you. We can have some toxic kind of codependent type relationships between friends and family and adult children and people we've known from childhood and in work environments. And the shadowy people could be Libra energy over here, which anyone can harness and does harness, but just depends on how they harness it. But it can be kind of more of a people pleasing perspective, like our public politician persona. We want people to view us a certain way. And for some people, that really manipulates them. And they don't really live their truth. And they don't really maybe invest in what they'd really like to invest in because emotionally they kind of are manipulated by maybe a lot of things. And instead of working through it to get clear about what their truth is and kind of standing up for their truth and what they think is just and fair, because they are manipulated by a lot of different things in life, they thought other people would really be manipulated by a lot of other things in life. But the other people work through it. And it's like, I have my life to live and I have my truth. Everybody else has their truth. And everybody's going to judge me if they want to waste their time thinking about me and my life. They're going to come to their conclusions more based on who they are than maybe the truth of who I am. And high vibe Libra and high vibe energy would be I adhere to a higher truth and justice, and that is the Queen of Pentacles. If I think something is not just and fair, and shadowy Scorpio can be that people are being controlling and kind of also can be like narcissistic. And shadowy Pisces can be that people kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And some people try to emotionally confuse other people about the truth of who they are. And they could put a lot of work and effort to have a certain status or image in the world, but they're not who they say they are. I saw the truth and I adhere to a higher truth and justice. The world can think of me what they want. I'm going to live my truth. And I saw the truth and I saw what wasn't just and fair. And I don't want to invest in those people, regardless of what they look like or whatever. Someone else can. I've moved on. And some of those people cannot believe it because they're manipulated by those things and they can't believe that other people aren't manipulated by those things as much as they are. So I think they're always going to be surprised that other people aren't really like maybe even fearful and defensive to love, because there's a lot of people in the world where love is like the devil. I could get hurt doing love. No, I'm not going to do love. I might act like I'm willing to do love, but I'm just indulging in the relationship. I'm not really emotionally investing in that dream. I'm kind of indulging in it until people see the truth that I'm not really being more authentic and willing to go on that type of an adventure of a dream. I'm really kind of living more from my mind than my heart. And so long as this works for me and it's good for my ego and my image and all those things, I'll stay in it. But if the people I'm in a relationship with want me to look at life from a higher perspective and really be more authentically myself, not just presenting myself like I'm a just, fair, stable, grounded, motivated by love type of person. Well, no, 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 that's scary. You're putting me in a place that I don't want to go. And it could always surprise them too. Why am I so afraid of love? Why am I so afraid of trusting other people? Well, they got their issues to deal with that make them that type of person. And until they work through it, some high vibe people aren't going to keep staying in their life. They can have high vibe people in their life right now that are hoping this is going to move forward, but as it keeps not moving forward, and they kind of keep like, no, 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 let's keep doing this, and oh no, I still have these fears, or oh no, I haven't healed, or oh, no. Eventually some other people are like, okay, I'll let you heal, I'm moving on. And I'm going to go find people who have healed, because some people just want to be in relationships for a place to rest within, and they never plan to put in work and effort to heal and grow and mature themselves. And they never plan to bring some of those dreams into reality. And then what they could be surprised about is that they and some other people can be surprised at, wow, that person did work through their fears and insecurities, and I didn't think that would be someone who would do that. And then they could equally be surprised that some other people that they didn't think would be maybe more manipulated in their pride, their ego, their lust, their greed, their defensiveness, their immature nature, whatever, would be willing to keep moving forward with some shadowy people and being in something that's more superficial and shallow. Who does love and believe in themselves and believe in their dreams and stand up for their truth, and who doesn't? And if some people are in they're kind of more shadowy, and they could think, oh my gosh, I am in a relationship with someone who seems to be on the same page as me. The other person might be creating an illusion. Creating the illusion, I'm on the same page as you, or I am a more just, fair, stable, grounded, loving person, just like you. But they're both creating an illusion. If they are on the same page, they might move forward in this new beginning because they think it makes them look like they have what some other people have in the world. But because it's in death energy, which can be non-life-giving energy, it's not inspired by love, it's more inspired by these other reasons. They might be surprised, if they're both more immature, both more ego-driven, materialistically driven. They might be surprised that other people maybe don't want to hang out with them. And they might be really stressed when a card is in reverse. It can also mean extremes. If both people kind of know that the reason they're in a relationship is for these other reasons, well, what if someone else comes along that would be more willing to indulge them or require less of them, or that person has more of the things of the world that they want? They're always afraid that, either one of them could go get in a relationship with someone else, because it's not really love, isn't the reason why they're in it to begin with. And then maybe as time goes by in a relationship, maybe what's something that people were initially like, oh my gosh, this is like a dream come true. This person kind of views life the way I view it, or likes to indulge in these same things, or make their life about these things. Well, shadowy energy can be where people try to control and manipulate people to get them to do what they want. Shadowy Scorpio can be intimidating, controlling, narcissistic, acting like a private detective in a relationship. Because if the only thing that people really have to offer other people is their status, their image, their looks, their whatever, because they know they don't really do love, their image and status and looking like a just, fair person, like a shining star in the world, is really important to them. And for some, they'll just move forward in something that by worldly standards looks like they have what other people have. It's just not based on truth and love. It's more for these things of the world. And I think when people aren't being authentic and honest and they're in a relationship for ulterior purposes, I think those people are always really stressed out because I think they're afraid that eventually the other people in their life will see the truth, that it's not love, isn't why it's creating the illusion of love, and that the other people will find out the truth. And because they're so fearful, if they know they're being deceptive and manipulative for ulterior purposes, boy, they're always really stressed out about if the other person will see the truth. And they might do a lot of intimidating and controlling in order to keep the status or image that they want. But they also, it's kind of this real big conflict within themselves because it's like they want it to move forward because it looks good for their ego and their image. But at the same time, they want to make sure the other person doesn't more love and believe in themselves, and the shadowy energy is also competitive. I don't want people to view you as a more just, fair, stable, grounded, loving person than me, because if this ever doesn't want to work out, I want to make it seem like I was the more loving, giving, nurturing person. And then they can do things that kind of sabotage the relationship, kind of maybe doing some immature things to, again, kind of it's like backstabbing their partner, being competitive with your own relationship partner because you're not being authentic and honest, regardless if you're in a relationship with a loving person or another shadowy person. It's always trying to probably basically confuse people about the truth of someone that you're in a relationship with, like, oh, all they care about is this, or oh, they're kind of more about themselves. I don't know. There could be some people in the world that are just, they're living their life, and then it's kind of like just kind of watching how other things are going to play out in people's lives. But I just don't think things are going to work out for the more worldly, shadowy people because they reject aligning with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And they keep thinking they can confuse people about the truth of who they are. But eventually the truth comes to light. Virgo energy talks about the truth coming to light just by how other people kind of live their life and how they interact and how they operate versus other people. You kind of like, yeah, I think that's more superficial and shallow. And yeah, I think these people really actually like each other. And I think the other people are kind of putting on a show for other people, or just kind of watching to see how it all turns out, maybe. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.